Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Crystallo and previewing the upcoming expansions Untold, Fortune, and Den of Dragons. All of these by designer Liberty Kifer and publishers Lightheart Games and Deepwater Games. This is a game that's been on my radar for quite some time now. As somebody, if you've watched my channel at all, you've seen that I cover a lot of smaller games, and I also tend to really enjoy spatial puzzle kind of games. So here's one that is a smaller box spatial puzzle game that has been getting a lot of attention from solo gamers, and one that I've been really interested to try out for a while now. And now it's got 2 expansions hitting Kickstarter, and this was the perfect opportunity for me to take a look. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of the base game as well as the prototype copies of the expansions from the publisher, but with that said, I will do my best as always to give you my own honest opinion on the game. Let's head down to the table to see how this game plays with these 2 expansions included, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. Before I get into setup for this playthrough today, I will be playing with both of the upcoming expansions, Untold, Fortune, and Den of Dragons, but it's interesting here in that each of these 2 expansions works with a different piece of the game. So the Untold Fortune will be set up with the sort of initial setup of the game, but Den of Dragons will come in the second half of the game when I sort of reset for the second part of the game. So first I'm going to set up the sort of base game, and then we'll set up the extension or the additional components of the Untold Fortune expansion. And to do that, first we should take the black dragon cards and set them off to the side for the sort of second half of the game. I'll just place them up here in the corner. Sorry for that little focus glitch. And then we will take these 6 animal colored cards, red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, and violet basically, and I'm going to place those across the top of the screen right there, like this, and then I will place out 3 of each colored gem out on the appropriate card. Then finally I'll take the sort of main deck of the game, give that a good shuffle, and we'll set aside 9 cards with the dragon card off to the side for use in the second half of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 cards. And I'll just stick those off over there, setting the rest of the cards down here in the corner, along with our sort of player aid card. And I will probably not really refer to this so much because I remember what most of these things do, but I will use this in just a minute to help explain how the game plays when I do that. But before we do that, I do, again, want to be playing this game with the 2 new expansions, and the first expansion will get mixed in now, and that is the Untold Fortune expansion. So first things first, we will take the cards from that expansion, and I'm going to remove, well, first we're going to choose the difficulty level, and in this case I'll be playing with the normal difficulty level, which means I'm going to be removing 1 crystal ball card and 1 cavern collapse card from the game. And then I'll take the remaining cards, give them a good shuffle, and I'm going to deal out 6 piles of 3 cards. And those 3 cards will each go under these 6 different colored animal cards. So let me go ahead and shuffle those up, deal them out into 6 piles, place them all under the animal cards, and I will be right back. All right, so underneath each of these 6 animals now is a stack of 3 cards from the expansion. The expansion also comes with its own player aid that I will also set aside here. And again, I'll use both of these to explain how the game plays in just a minute. The other thing I want to do is take these treasure tokens from the expansion and set those off to the side. I'll put them over here for now, just off the screen. And I will also then set out the bag. This is the bag that the base game comes in, just flipped face down like this. We're going to keep all the treasures and gems that we sort of collect on top of this bag as we get into gameplay. But before we get into gameplay, I need to explain what is happening. And to do that, I'm going to basically start the game. And the way we start the game is flipping over the first card and placing it here in the center of the play area. Now, this will get adjusted. I may have to move things around a little bit as I play, but I want to try and fit it into a space that fits as much as possible. And actually, I'm going to start sideways because the camera has more space this way than it does this way, so we'll play out more in this direction if possible. And the way the Crystallo base game is going to play out is, on my turn, I'm going to flip over cards. So I'll play the first turn right now, and then I'll sort of walk through how the game works. I'm going to turn over a card. And on that card, you're going to see a variety of things, generally these crystals and these sort of icons on the card. And the point of the game, the goal of the game, is to surround these icons on 3 sides with a set of crystals that sort of unlocks this icon. And this icon is going to match a color of one of the creatures up here. In this case, this is the one color that doesn't quite match in my eyes, but that's fine. This is yellow, the unicorn up here. So if I manage to surround this on 3 sides, or sort of 2 sides and 1 diagonal, I'm going to unlock that icon, basically placing a yellow crystal from the unicorn onto that spot. But in order to do that, we're going to need to place these cards out in the tableau. Whoops. And to place a card out in a tableau, the only rule is that I must always place a crystal next to a crystal that's already out on the tableau. So I can place it anywhere I'd like to, overlapping cards and so on. I can never slide a card underneath, but otherwise we can sort of place anywhere we want to, so long as there is a crystal placed adjacent to a crystal that is already out on the board. We can even cover those icons if we decide we want to. We can place them adjacent to a card like this and so on, so that one crystal is next to another crystal, with the hopes of building these groupings to unlock the crystals on these icon spaces. And there are sort of 4 different sets that we can be making as we're doing that. So every crystal on the board has a shape and a color. So we can have all matching colors and shapes, all matching colors with different shapes for each one, all matching shapes with different colors for each one, or no matching shapes and no matching colors. So we have to have everything matching, nothing matching, or all of one thing matching to make a set. In addition, you'll see that as we start playing, we will start seeing cards that have treasures on them. And they're the same as a regular card, except that they have 2 icons on them that can be unlocked. And if we unlock both of those icons, we're going to collect that treasure. And these 3 different types of treasure will give us a bonus if we manage to collect all 3 of a set. So if we collect all 3 of the riches treasures, we're going to actually get 1 free additional treasure that will count towards our final score. If we get all 3 of the magic treasures, we can either remove 1 gem from any of the creatures in this first round, or later when we're fighting the dragon, we could instead add 1 gem to the dragon, which is going to be ultimately how we defeat the dragon. And then finally, if we get all 3 of these sort of armor or weapon kind of cards, they're called battles here, this is going to allow us to draw 1 additional card for the dragon. And I'll explain what that means in just a second. But that's the basic game. We're going to be drawing cards, placing cards, making these sets, unlocking these crystals to place on the cards. And the goal is to get rid of all of these crystals. And if we do, we will then move on to the second round to fight the dragon, crossing my fingers that I do, because I'd like to be able to show you all of the game. But in addition to that now, we've also added in the expansion. And what that means is underneath each of these creatures is a set of 3 cards. At random, they've all been mixed together, and those are all going to have different effects, which I'm going to show you in just a second, but those won't come out until we clear a creature. As soon as all of the crystals from that creature are cleared, we'll move the creature aside and we'll flip over the top card of that stack and do whatever it says. So let me show you what those different things are that we're going to see on those cards. The first thing we'll see is a Cavern Collapse card, and if we see a Cavern Collapse card, we have to place that immediately. We can't wait until later. And what it has to do is it has to cover 1 card that we've already played out completely on the sort of play area. And that means that if it's placed over a card that already has one of the creature's crystals placed on it, that crystal will go away. Additionally, if it happens to break a grouping for another card, that crystal will also go away. And it's also worth mentioning that every successive Cavern Collapse that is drawn must be then placed adjacent to a Cavern Collapse that's already been placed. So it's going to sort of slowly start creeping across one side of our board, and we have to be really careful of that, because another card we're going to be placing is something called Spirit Stones. And if we have a Spirit Stone out and the Cavern Collapse ever gets placed on top of a Spirit Stone, we instantly lose the game. So we have to avoid that happening. And you'll see how that plays out as we get into it later. But that's basically what the Cavern Collapses are doing. They're slowly destroying our board, and we're going to have to fight them off a little bit as we play. Next is the Crystal Ball. As soon as the crystal ball shows up in one of those stacks, it's going to block off that stack forever because the crystal ball will never go away. But one use, I can use that for free to peek at the cards underneath any of those creatures, or if the creature's gone, just to peek at all of the cards in the stack so I can see what's coming out. So for example, if there are Cavern Collapse cards, I can avoid using those stack. Next, we've got Spirit Stones, and I'll explain that a little bit better when they start coming out, but Spirit Stones are going to be allowed to be overlaid over top of cards that have already had their crystals placed on them. And basically, when I overlay it like that, I will take that crystal and put it on this bag. And the reason we're going to be doing that is because these things on the back here are all going to be requiring me to spend crystals, or gems, I guess, or treasures to make these things happen. And I said spend treasures, I haven't explained that. In the expansion now, when we do finish off a treasure card, we're going to be taking the token for that treasure card and placing it on the bag. If we get all three of them, we will unlock the bonus, and that is safe. But otherwise, these treasures will only be counting as points at the end of the game if they remain in our sort of collection, because we might start spending some of these treasures to do other things. And let me show you what that means. So first, there are two types of shovels, wood shovels and metal shovels. The only difference between them mostly is the cost and sort of the power of that shovel. So the regular shovel, the wooden shovel, is going to cost 1 gem or 1 treasure to use, and the metal shovel will cost 2 gems or treasures in any combination. And what that's going to let me do is, a shovel will allow me to draw or dig up 1 collapse or 2 cavern cards. So I can return 2 cards to my hand, or I can get rid of one of those cavern collapses that has already been placed out. And the metal's going to do the same thing, except it will let me get rid of 2 collapse cards or 4 cards back to my hand. And cards back in my hand are great because they're going to allow me to get other gems based on their placement, but also every card that I have left in my hand after I've cleared all the gems away will come with me to fight the black dragon. Otherwise, I'm only going to have those 9 cards that I set aside at the beginning to fight the dragon. The next thing we have is the pickaxe. And the pickaxe won't let me get anything back to my hand, but instead what it does is I can spend 2 gems, 2 treasures, or a combination of 2 gems and treasures to dig up all of the collapses. So if I have a lot of collapses out there, more than 2, especially, I can use the pickaxe to clean everything up. And finally, the last thing here is the raven. And the raven is going to be another way that we can use some of those gems that we've been collecting using the spirit stones. And I can spend a gem to draw a treasure from the token supply over here rather than completing a card to get that treasure. So if I want to start making some more of those treasure sets that I talked about before, that raven will be very helpful to do that. Now I know that might be a lot to take in all at once, so let me go ahead and get into gameplay, and hopefully things will become clearer as I do them. All right, then. Starting with this card, now I need to place this out. I see here is a 1-2 combination. If I had a 3 orange, that completes, but there's nothing over here. So that kind of wastes the space. If I flip it this way, there's a 2 orange, a 2 red, a 2 purple would complete that set. And I could put one here and potentially get both of those yellow crystals. So that's not a bad way to start. All right, next. A single purple or a triple purple. Well, I don't love any of that, but let's go ahead and I'm going to place it this way because we could potentially place something else over here that uses that adds its own symbol. Yeah, and then we can work on getting a single red to get that orange. All right, triple purple, single purple. Then I will place this triple purple here looking for a group of 3 purples to get blues and purple. All right, single orange does nothing for me right now. And I already see that space is going to be an issue moving up and down because I'd like to play off of this purple, but I don't really have the space. So let me move this Phoenix card over because I will play this right here like that. All right. There's a double orange, which doesn't work off what we have right now. A single red is perfect. The single red can fill in that slot right there. And by doing that, we get our first orange gem there. Next, single orange, double red. I'm going to set up an orange grouping over here, and we'll see what happens. Double red, triple red. Again, nothing great. Let's go over here with the double red because the triple doesn't have any crystal or gem spots associated with it. Single orange, single red. Single red goes in here like this. Hold on. Or here like this. Yeah, I'm going to place it here like this, and I just moved that one away. That finishes off this orange like that. Triple orange, triple orange fills in here or there. Let's go up here. Gets it yellow like that. Double orange, triple purple. Triple purple goes there. And gets me this blue there. Double red, single orange. Double red fills here for a purple. I'm not seeing any treasure cards yet. All right, here's a triple orange and a single red. Triple orange actually goes perfectly right there. Get me one more purple here. All right, here's my first treasure card. So again, if I manage to activate this gem and this gem, I will collect that sword. Double red, triple red. If I put that, no. If I overlay that like that, you're losing that off the screen, but that's going to get me this blue right here instantly, and I can work on that red later. So I'm going to place that blue there, like that. All right, another treasure, double orange or triple purple. And a triple purple, if I place that sideways right there, gets me that blue right there, which finishes my seahorse. So I'm going to move this over, and we're going to turn over the top card here, and this is my first spirit stone. So I can place this out. Are these really both purple? They are. I can place this out to collect a purple stone or an orange stone. But the main point is I cannot break any other groupings on another card. So I could place this here to collect that orange stone, but the problem is this purple is connected to this blue stone or indigo stone, so I can't use that there. And right now there are no locations that can get placed, but potentially in the future there will be. Then next card, single red, triple orange. There's nothing next to the single red, otherwise I could play it like that to make a grouping, but there's no stuff there. I need a double red here. A single red doesn't help me anywhere. I'm going to play the triple orange over here. No, because blue's already done, I don't care. It doesn't help. Let me move this unicorn card, because I want to play this one right there. Next, double orange, triple red. Well, the double orange works exactly where I just put it. So that can go there, and that gets rid of this one, but I don't really care. That gets me my first light blue card. Hold on, no. Yes. Yeah, that's fine. All right, next. Single orange, single purple. Well, I can place the single orange right there, which gets me this purple here, finishing off my purple card, which gets me my first Raven, which I can't use unless I have some gems. And again, we're going to spend gems to get treasures. And actually, I'm going to show that to you right now. I'm going to use this card right here. No, I can't, because that orange is connected to that. No. Can't. All right, then next card. Double orange. I don't need purples anymore, otherwise I could have put it here to get that. Oh, I still can. Do I want to finish off an orange? Sure. I'm going to play that up here. So now I've got a 1, 2, 3 orange. That gets placed there. This Phoenix is now finished. And we've got a blue and yellow crystal. But I am going to use this now that I can. No, because again, this one is using there. I can't. All right, then. Next card. Triple orange, triple red. Sprawling a bit. You can't see it on camera. I'm going to push over here. I'm adding another red here over this side so that I can score. You can't see it. I'm aiming to score this red circle right there. All right, I got a double red, a double orange. A double red, I don't need blue anymore. But this will work for, I don't need purple anymore either. That's a shame. This is a purple crystal on a nice item, but I'm out of purple, so I can't put any more purple on that. So we just want to use this to finish other things off. But this blue is useful. If I can find a way, and I think no. I'm aiming for that yellow. If I put this here, no, because I have to place crystals next to each other. I'll place this here like this. Because if I put an orange this way, I can then score that blue. All right, triple purple. I've got lots of triple purple over here, but there's no way for me to fit that in anymore. And anyway, this doesn't matter because these are both blue. So I need to figure out a space that I could use that might help something else, and I don't see one. We should be looking at red, blue, and yellow. This one needs a single purple. This one needs a double orange. This one needs a double purple. Yeah, I think right now this card is somewhat useless. Except that I'm going to play it off screen over here because I've got a triple orange. And if I add that to the triple orange, if I can get a triple red later, I will get a blue crystal. Again, I apologize for the sprawling nature of this on camera, but I will explain things as much as possible so you can see what's happening. All right, here's a single purple. So I can put that there to get one more blue. Another single purple and another triple purple. With a red. I need lots of red. I don't see any good spaces. I could put a triple red there to get this red. All right, so I'm just going to stick that here, and a single orange will get me that red. And there's a single orange. Is there anywhere else I was looking for a single orange? Not immediately. Then I will place that there. To get me a red crystal there, or a red gem there. Next, triple red, double purple. Well, the triple red gets me the blue over there. Let me see if I can stay on screen for you somewhere. Double purple works there. Double purple works there. And if I could put a double red there, I could get a blue. But anyway, double purple works there to get me a yellow, which I need anyway. Next, another item, but I don't have any orange left, so there's no way for me to unlock that. I do need to focus on getting this. Let me stick that up there so I know that it goes with that. I need to focus on this. I need a triple red there to finish this treasure. I need all kinds of stuff to finish this one. What's that? A double red. No, a triple red goes there. A single orange goes here, but I don't need that anyway. If I put a double red there, no, that breaks that. I can't put it there. I would love to change that to red to make this work. Well then, I don't really have much that I can do at this point. I can. Excuse me, Mr. Phoenix. If I place this here, make sure I don't care about losing that blue. I don't. Purple, red, orange singles gets me that blue right there. So he's done. We flip over that. And here's my first collapse. Well, unfortunately, you're not going to see it, but I'm going to hold on just a second. Move these cards in so you can see I've got this, then this red card connects over here to the red on this card here. So I'm going to put the collapse on that end card because it's not bothering anything way out there. Then we flip over the next one, and oh, look at that. It's another collapse, so again, I'm placing it on the second card that I just showed you. And then a shovel. So this shovel is a metal shovel, means I need 2 gems or 2 treasures to dig up either those collapses that just happened or other cards that I've played out already. I need to focus on some red gems and a yellow gem. Yellow could happen here or here. Red, I need this one on the sword for sure. Oh, I love this yellow on the necklace, actually. Red can happen here. Red is not happening there. All right, let's see what happens. Triple red. Triple red. Actually, I can't get this right here anymore unless I use the treasure, or the, shovel to dig up those collapses because I blocked it off. So I am going to place this red right there as a triple, which does get me this red gem like that. Now if I can get a single purple there, we will unlock the necklace. And actually, I think I might give up on this sword right now. Because if I take this card and I lay it down like that, no, that's too dangerous. Because if I do that, I'm going to flip one, and if it's a cavern collapse, that covers that spirit because it's the next card after the collapse. So that's a problem. I'm pausing there for a second. All right, then. Next card is a single red with a blue crystal. I don't really need this at all for anything at all. Nothing. All right, then I'm just going to place it there. Next, a triple orange. I feel like I should use that somewhere, but I don't have anywhere to use that, and it's an orange anyway. So again, I don't care. All right. Yeah, so we'll just place that there. Double red, triple orange. Double red with a yellow is perfect because, but then I don't get this yellow. That's a shame. I can place this right there to get that yellow gem, but then I won't get that treasure, and I really want that treasure. Well, I'm going to place this triple orange right here, because a triple purple in this location will get me my red gem. All right, single purple, single orange. Perfect. There's the single purple I was hoping for. Like that gets me this yellow, which gets me the necklace. I'll place that there. I'm confusing myself. I don't know why that shield was there. All right. Then, crown. Single red, single purple. All I need left, before I can do that, the unicorn has to step down and let me see what's there. Ooh, red and blue. Red and blue is perfect because I can place that one right there to take that blue without ruining anything else. So now I've got a gem there to spend on something if I want to. And I do have to flip the next one, and it's a shovel. So I could spend that gem to dig up that cave down here. Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to spend the gem, just set it off to the side, to dig up one using this wooden card to dig up that one collapse that was over there. Which means now I get, a blue and white here. This one's safe. This one may or may not be safe. So I'm going to hold off. I'm going to use that card to take this one. Like that. And then I am placing this card like before. I still have one red gem I need to get. Where are the reds? Here, I can't ever really get that. Here I need a red. All right, let's do this. If I put this here, a purple 2 will get me that red, and a orange 3 will get me that red. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. No. Then we flip. Neither of the things that I wanted an orange to. Ooh, you know what? We did it. Yeah. All right, if I place this right here like that, I get a red going there. Now, before I end, because that is the end, although the Firefox does need to move, because if this is a cave collapse, we got to place it. It's not, it's a pickaxe. I can continue to use the bonus cards from the expansion to sort of do as much good, as much stuff as I can. So let's see what else we can do. I can place this red. Oops. Huh? Oh, that was already placed. Sorry. That's not a stack. I've got a blue and yellow, purple and orange. That's blue and... this is blue and yellow. Does this help anything else? No. But this does. This one is aiming for that, so I can't do that. This yellow... No, that's working for... No, it's not. This is not doing anything. This is. Never mind. Purple. Yeah, that's for the blue. I think that might be all I can do. What about this one? Yeah. Nope. All right. Then I do have one gem, which means I can either dig up 2 cards to have them for the end game, or I could use it as a bird to get one more treasure. I don't think I want one more treasure because one more point at this point is not super important. I'd rather spend that. But this is a double. Never mind. I'd have to use this and this to dig up 4 cards. Is there anything under that? No. Yeah, then let's do that. I'm sacrificing. No, I'm not. I'm staying there. I will use that gem to take one more treasure, and it doesn't really matter which one I take. So I will take another one of these gold ones. Hold on, what have I seen? I haven't seen the coins come out, as far as I can tell, although it may be buried under something. Not there. How about here? Not there. All right, so I haven't seen the coins come out as far as I can see. I have seen this crown, so I'm losing it. So I'm going to take that crown and hope that against the dragon we might get our last treasure, and then I can have the full set. So at this point, we're going to clear off everything. except that any treasure cards I've gotten, I keep. So I'm going to keep this card just as my thing. Everything else gets cleared off, and then I will show you what happens next. And when I say cleared off, I mean all of these gem cards will get shuffled back together and just set off to the side. All of the expansion cards from Untold Fortune go away. And all of the crystals will again be placed off to the side until I set up for the next piece of the game. All right, so here we are all cleared up. I've saved down here at the bottom of the screen 2 of each colored gem, and you'll see why in just a minute. But now we're going to set up for the second half of the game, and that is our battle against the Black Dragon. And now, because we're playing the Dragon's Den expansion, the Den of Dragons expansion, I will also have the ability to potentially fight off against another dragon. So step 1. We're going to take those 9 cards that I set aside and the 2 Black Dragon cards. I will assemble the Black Dragon up here, like this. And then in the expansion, we have the ability to fight off other dragons based on which treasures we collected through the first half of the game. So the expansion Den of Dragons also has a golden dragon, a mystic dragon, and an armored dragon. And if you've received any of the golden treasures or the wealthy treasures, you can fight off the gold dragon. If you've gotten any of the magical treasures, like the magic wand or the potions, you can choose to take on the mystic dragon. And if you've got any of the armored pieces, like the helmet, the sword, and the shield, you can choose to fight off the armored dragon. Now, in this case, we only got gold treasures, so we can only choose to fight the golden dragon. And that then is what I will do. So we're going to also place out the Golden Dragon's 2 cards. And fighting the Golden Dragon means we will also then need the golden gems. So I will also place down here the 6 golden gems. And for the expansion, I'll explain how this works in just a minute. I also then need the 3 tile sort of overlays that are associated with the dragon that we're going up against. So in this case, the 3 golden overlays will be needed as well. And then finally, to the 9 cards that we set aside at the beginning, we add any cards that we had left over from the original first half of the game. There's no need to shuffle them because we're going to turn them all face up and use them as needed. But in the case that I also had all 3 armor, which I don't this time, but if I did, I would then add 1 more card to there from the shuffled cards that we put away from the first half of the game. All right, so I then need to go up against the Black Dragon and the Golden Dragon. And to do so, I'm going to place out all of the cards that I have available to me. And I've got 11 cards with which to defeat the dragons. And the way that this is going to work is I can place these out in any order, in any way that I'd like to, in the same way that I did in the first part of the game. And I need to activate a gem of each color to defeat the Black Dragon. And if I'm able to sort of use groups to activate one of each color, I will have defeated the Black Dragon. In order to defeat the Golden Dragon, I'm going to have to use these overlays. And these overlays need to be placed over cards that have already been placed down. And if I manage to surround these new golden symbols, I will activate one of the golden gems on the Golden Dragon. If I can place all 3 golden gems on the Golden Dragon, I will have defeated the Golden Dragon. You'll also see that these tiles are double-sided. This is another difficulty level selection that I have. This side is a wild gem, so I can use that as a 1 gem of any color in any grouping. The other side will lock that into a specific color. This is the difficult version, or the hard mode, and this is the easy mode. And for easy mode, it's worth mentioning that either side is usable because, for example, this L shape will change direction and will be easier or harder to overlay on certain cards depending on which side I use. So if I want to aim for the easy mode, I can use the hard mode of this tile if it's easier for me to fit it. But if I want to score or win on hard mode, I have to place everything out on the hard side. So with that said, we have freedom to rearrange things and place things and try things as many times as you want. I'm not going to make you sit here for hours watching me try and figure out a puzzle, so I will do my best to make it happen. I would also like to be able to activate this card because this card will give me the last treasure of that set, which would then give me an additional 1 treasure from that set as well. All right, so let's start by looking at that one and trying to activate those 2, because those are actually 2 different colors as well, so that would be great. And I do see I've got 3 orange crystals, so let's do that. I'm going to place that there and that there, but hold on a minute, no. Because that would let me do that, but then another orange, yeah, that's fine. Again, I might rearrange all of this. I'm just testing things. That goes there to get me an orange. So that orange is unlocked that way. Then I can take, that's the only oranges I have. In that case, no. I changed my mind. We're going to place out a 2 there instead. Because if I do that, I can play this 1 here like this, which will activate that purple instead, like that. Then I can play out this 1 like this, which will activate that orange 1 there. And maybe, no, that's not going to work in any kind of way. If I do that, that covers up too much stuff. All right. This could potentially be okay, doing that, because I don't need this blue anymore because there's a blue there. If I put that there, like that, let's see what we can do with that. I need to figure out how to get this blue. Red 3, and a 1 red. Do I have 2 more? No. I don't have another single red. But I do have several triple reds. So that goes there. And I don't need that orange. So if I put that there like that, I can get the blue. And if I place like that, I will get the indigo there. Then there's a red, there's a purple. If I have a 2 orange, I don't. Grr. This doesn't fit anywhere yet. This could, but it just destroys everything. What's under there? All right, well, let me work on getting other stuff. So I still need a red and I still need a yellow, and it doesn't look great. That gets me, hold on a minute. No. 3, 2, 1 gets me, do I have a, ooh. If I place that 1 there, then I can play a 3 there to get a red. And I could potentially then play this 3 here to get the yellow. So that defeats the black dragon. We could stop there and I could show you that's the end of the game, but I do want to try and get the other stuff if possible. I don't know that it's going to happen, though. I don't know that as played this is ever going to work. What's this? Because I don't have anything for anything for anything. I mean, this 1, 2, no. I mean, I could sacrifice this card just to play that there, and would get me a gold there. But that doesn't mean anything for me. If I could find a way to fit this here, that would work. But, yeah, if I had a 2 orange there, that would be wonderful, but not happening. Well, we could do that hits there. All right, well, it doesn't really do any good for me. But if I do that, let me just see how this works. That goes there. And if I want to, that goes there, which means this one is done, this one is done. For playing easy mode, it might be a little easier. I need to place a place that has a 3. Or sorry, that needs a 3. But I don't have any 1, 2 spots except here, and there's not enough space for me to put that there. I would need one more card vertically to do that. So I think that's gonna be it for me. Hold on a minute. There's a 3 somewhere. Is there a space that I can throw a 3 without hurting anything else? I don't see one. Because something like that would work if I had something there. But unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen. What's under there? Nope, I think that's all she wrote for me. I don't have the ability right now to get something there. I'm gonna call it there. We managed to finish off the black dragon. We didn't manage to finish off the golden dragon. I did, from this card here, unlock those coins, so I do get the coins. And because now I have all 3 of the gold treasures, I do get the additional +1 from the gold treasures. I wish I had a single card more and I would have been able to slay the golden dragon, probably. But now we do go into scoring. And for the base game, we managed to free all the creatures. And we trapped the black dragon. And I don't have any cards remaining. I did actually have one card remaining. So actually, yeah, we could do that. Because it'll improve our original game score without... Since I can't beat the golden dragon anyway, if we take those off like that, this card is not doing anything for me. So I do have one card remaining from the original game. So I trapped the black dragon with one card remaining, so I am a knight. And because of the bonus treasure, I have gotten 4 treasures, so I'm a prosperous knight. For the first expansion, the Untold Fortune expansion, I did play on the normal mode, or what's called the adventurous mode. So I am the adventurous prosperous knight. And then unfortunately for the final expansion, I did not beat the golden dragon. If I had beaten it on easy mode, I would have gotten 2 extra treasures. And if I had beaten it on hard mode, I would have immediately be called the outrageously wealthy. But I didn't do either of those things, so I don't get any new title or points from the golden dragon. So again, I'm the adventurous, prosperous knight. Taking a look in the base game rulebook at the back at the scoring table, as a prosperous knight, I score 1,050 points. And then playing on the adventurous mode, I score an additional 50 points. So I finish with a score of 1,100 points. So that's it for the game. While we're here, let's take a look at the components. Now, this is my first time reviewing the base game as well as the expansions. We're taking a preview look at the expansions. I can't really sort of grade the expansion stuff. I will talk about that in a minute, but let me take a look at the base game first. I love these big, chunky, colorful gems. The cards are very easy to see everything. If I was going to complain about anything in the base game colors, it is that this unicorn is more of a white than it is a yellow, but the gems are very much yellow, so I would have liked to see a little bit more yellow in both this unicorn and in these unicorn symbols out on the board. But otherwise, I really do love the look, the artwork of the creatures, of the black dragon. These gems are big and chunky. The treasures are very clear, very easy to see. The base game does come in this bag, which has the name stitched into the bag, and then the cards themselves all fit into here, and everything fits nicely in the bag. I do enjoy that packaging. That means it doesn't really have a place on a shelf that sits as a shelf because it's not a box, but it's very easy to store somewhere, and if it's in this bag, it looks nice just sort of sitting on top of a shelf. Coming back to the expansion, the different gems in the expansion, again, this is all prototype, but I do like the colors of the gold, silver for the armored dragon, and this sort of pinkish magenta color for the mystic dragon. Again, just so you can see the other 2 dragons a little bit closer up. This is the armored dragon. I would have liked to see a little bit more silver just to make it stand out differently from the black dragon, but it is very cool art. And I really, really like this one, mostly because of the purples and pinks. But this is the mystic dragon here. Just to show you the tiles of the different dragons. The gold tiles are this sort of rectangle, this sort of C, and this sort of L shaped. They all have some overlap, so the mystic gets another rectangle, but they've got a straight one and this sort of S or Z shaped one. And then the black dragon, or realistically the armored dragon, has that same L shape as the gold dragon, has the same straight shape as the mystic dragon, and then again has that same C shape as the gold dragon. I can't comment on the quality of these because again, this is all prototype quality, but I really do like the way that these tiles work. I'll talk more about that in gameplay up top. And then finally, I do want to talk about these treasure tokens. Again, I can't talk about the quality of the components. They do feel like very nice punchboard tokens to me right now. But more importantly, the nice thing about having these is that, first off, they're marked on the back. The color or design shows me the different sets that they belong to, which is really nice. But also in the base game, as you cover the cards that unlock those treasures, Nothing is changing, nothing is happening. Those cards don't get cleared from the table until after that first half of the game is done. So it's really nice to have these treasure tokens to keep track of all of the treasures you've unlocked. Even if you're not playing with the rules of the expansion, which lets you spend these to activate some of those ability cards, just having them to keep track of what you've unlocked is very, very handy to have these tokens. So that's basically it for the components. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the base game as well as the 2 expansions. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. So here we go, a solo small box spatial puzzle game that I've been very interested in for a while, largely because it gets a lot of talk and a lot of praise in the solo community. So I really wanted to take a look at this one, mostly because it seems to be the kind of game that would be sort of right in my wheelhouse and sort of designed for my tastes. So I've played this a bunch now, both base game alone and with both expansions. And I'm going to first talk about the base game because I haven't reviewed the base game at all on this channel. And then I'll go into the 2 expansions and talk about how those expansions sort of fix things up or change things up and how the game feels with them and without them. So let's start first by talking about the base game. So here's a game on paper that should be really great for me. And I do really enjoy what I've seen in this game, but I do have to say this is a bit of a mixed bag for me. But again, let me stress that for me and let me explain why I'm saying the things that I'm saying about this game. First off, the core design concept of laying down these cards and overlaying these cards to build these sets of 3 different crystal shapes and colors in order to unlock the gems on those sort of colored locations on the cards, and then revealing or pulling off all of those gems by following that pattern is the first half of the game. And then in the second half of the game, we transition into fighting the dragon by again building those shapes. But now we're using cards that we've sort of saved from the beginning and also had left over from the first round to build those same shapes, unlock the gems, but now we're looking to place one of each color gem on the dragon to capture the dragon and, completely win the game. So there is this 2-part piece to the game, so I should talk about the 2 parts separately from each other. But first I just want to focus on that core idea of the layering of cards to build these sort of patterns of shapes in order to unlock these gems. And this core mechanism of the game is a very clever one, and one that I definitely do enjoy because there is quite an interesting puzzle here. This is not the same kind of spatial puzzle that I've seen before, largely because of a few things. One, that the groups that you can build have a variety of flexibility built into them, but then also the way that you lay the cards down on the table has quite a bit of flexibility as well. Because the only real rules about how the cards get played are that when you play a card, you must place a crystal next to a crystal that's already out in the player area, and you can never slide the card underneath. Otherwise, basically everything else is fair game. Now, of course, when you're laying over top, you can't break up groups that you've previously made before, but it's likely that you're going to want to build off of those groups anyway, so that's not a huge restriction. So basically the restrictions are crystal touching crystal, no sliding underneath. Otherwise, you can rotate the card as in any direction you'd like. I mean, obviously not diagonal because it is a very sort of orthogonally square kind of game. But you can rotate the card any way you want, and you can place the card any way you want. So it can overlap a card completely, it can overlap half of a card, overlap a corner of a card, you can place it sideways next to a card, vertically next to a card, and it really does make for a unique puzzle because there's not really a sort of set grid that everything is fitting into, because the length of the card and the width of the card are not multiples of each other. So the way that this thing sort of grows organically across the table is sort of unlike any other spatial puzzler I've played because of that sort of dichotomy of the different sizes in different directions. And you could have a lot of long cards or a lot of tall cards, and the way that they all fit together makes patterns that aren't necessarily patterns that you'd expect them to make based on a sort of square grid. Because those crystals and those icons that you unlock the gems on are sort of arranged in a square grid 2x3 on the card, but again, because of the size dynamic of that card, things really do fit in very interestingly, and it is kind of a wall that you've got to break through after the first couple times you've played to understand exactly how these groups can sort of fit together as you stick these cards together out on the tableau. And I think that's really interesting. Now, while I'm talking about that, there is a small negative coming from that exact same thing, and that is because of the odd dynamic of how things fit together. Sometimes you might get in a situation where things don't quite fit the way that you expect them to do, simply because a card is slightly shifted in one direction or another, and there's little gaps or lack of gaps that make things sort of cover things that they probably shouldn't be covering if you were real strict about how everything sort of gridded in together. But that's not a big negative, just something you need to be aware of in the core mechanism. But just that physicality of the overlaying would be a cool thing. But then to add on top of that, it's not a specific set that you're looking to build. You've got a lot of flexibility because you can have all matching colors and numbers. You can have no matching colors and no matching numbers. Or you can have all matching colors with no matching numbers, or all matching numbers with no matching colors. So there's these 4 different kinds of groups that you can build, and you can actually set things up so that sort of half of the cards grow to one kind of group, and then the same crystal is used in a different kind of group growing in the other direction. And it's a really interesting concept that there are different kinds of patterns that you can make, and then different ways that you can overlap the cards to make those patterns show up in the game. And then sometimes when you're overlaying the crystal with that gem spot, or sometimes you already have a gem spot that you're trying to build around, and it just adds levels and levels to this sort of puzzle or this sort of core mechanism in this game. And I find that very interesting. It's a very interesting and creative design that is very... I'm avoiding the word fun, and I'll explain why in a minute. This is a very personal thing to me, but it's a very interesting and very unique puzzle, and it is a lot of fun to a certain degree for me because I do like chugging through this and seeing how things all fit together. That said, the game, and again I said I was sort of avoiding the word fun, for me, because the game is very reliant on sort of long-term planning and strategy. And if you've ever watched my videos, you've probably heard me say before that I enjoy sort of turn-by-turn tactical decisions over long-term strategic planning kind of thinking. And this game definitely shines with long-term strategy. And let me explain what that means. If I play this game as a more tactical kind of puzzler, especially in the first half, I'm still talking about the first half of the game, mostly here. If I play that in a sort of draw a card, what's the best place for me to put this? Draw a card, what's the best place for me to put this? It does sort of eventually kind of turn into a prescribed kind of unveiling of cards. I turn this card fits best here. I turn this card fits best here. And the decision space kind of shrinks because now I'm just kind of thinking, what's the best place right now for me to put this card? And it's very much dependent on the randomness of the cards and how they come out. That said, if you play it the way that I suppose it should be played, with more long-term strategic thinking, then I know that these are the kinds of cards that are going to come out. I know that these are the kinds of gems that I need to get. And I know that these are the kind of patterns I can make. And if I set up this, knowing that in the future I need this, this, and this, which then chains to this, which then needs this, this, and this, and continually chaining this and thinking 4 or 5 turns ahead, then you can really set up these big combos that score in a bunch of ways. And when that comes through and when that works, it's really fulfilling and it feels really good that, hey, I set up this chain and it actually played out and now I've unlocked 3 gems. And that was really great because I didn't use a whole lot of cards. And that efficiency puzzle is really important here because the more cards you have left over, the more cards you have to fight the dragon at the end. And that's going to be really, really important. So this game shines with a long-term strategic plan, and that for me is not something I've ever really enjoyed because it feels more work than fun to me. And this game, I don't want to say it feels completely like work because again, the core mechanism here is very unique and interesting and I enjoy it a lot. But the sort of need to think ahead and plan ahead, especially with the grid sort of not working in the exact way that you expect it to work all the time, does become a little bit of a chore for me. That also means that I think that this game would work even better if while planning these long-term strategies, you sort of did a bit of card counting, or at least paying attention to what's come out and what's not come out. Because if I have a lot of sort of, say, for example, single orange crystals coming out, then I can expect that in the deck there won't be a lot of those single orange crystals coming in future. So I don't really want to set up chains or set up combos that are going to require those single orange crystals, because they've already started to come out a lot. And these are the kinds of things that if you do enjoy a deep, sort of brainy puzzle that does take forward planning, this could be something that really, really, really works for you. But for me, it takes a little bit too much effort of sort of thinking about what's here, what's not here, what could be here, what's coming next, how should I set it up? And it's just a lot of stuff going on all at once for my brain, where I prefer the sort of turn by turn, what can I do with this and how do I make it work for me? So there is a really good strategic game in here, but unfortunately I'm not the guy who likes that really good strategic game. One more small negative that does play into this strategy and does play into the randomness of the card draw is those items, or the unlockable treasures that you can get, because those are really cool because they do twist things up. The gold treasure is just about your score. Do you care so much about the score or not in this game? That's completely up to you. For me, it's more about how successful I am at getting all the crystals, or getting all the gems, I mean, and defeating the dragon at the end. But if you start getting good at this game, the score is going to tell you just how well you did every time. So the gold treasure does that. The magic treasure is going to allow you to get a gem or place a gem on the dragon without having to build a pattern, which is great. And the armor is going to give you one extra card for the black dragon at the end, which could be a huge thing. The problem is, when those treasures come out is completely random. And if they come out early, that's great because you can work around them and get them. If they come out late, you saw in my playthrough, you may have already placed all of the gems of the color you need to unlock that treasure, in which case, nah, you can't get that treasure. And it may also be that one of the treasure pieces in a set is in those original 9 cards that have been set aside for the black dragon. Now, when you're fighting the black dragon, they could come back in again, and you could then unlock it during that point, in which case then you do have the set and you can use it for what they're used for. But there is quite a bit of randomness about how those treasures come out and how easy it is for you to get those treasures or not get those treasures, depending on how things come out. So it is something else that you should be aware of in the sort of core design of this game. So I've been talking all about the first half. I haven't talked about the second half, so let's talk quickly about that. The second half of the game plays out basically the same way, except now I'm trying to get one of each color to capture the black dragon. And I say mostly the same way because there's a big twist here. And this big twist here makes the second half of the game work much better for me. And that is, at the start of the second half of the game, we take those 9 cards we placed out at the beginning, plus any cards that have left over from the first half of the game, turn them all face up, and now we place out to try and capture the dragon. Now, what's the difference here? I've turned all the cards face up. There is no randomness about the order that these cards are coming out in. There is no randomness about what's the best way to set up the puzzle, because I know exactly everything I have, and I know exactly how I can, not how, but what I can do to defeat the dragon. And now it's my job to take the resources available to me to fit them together in such a way that I get all of the gems I need to win. And this puzzle becomes a whole lot more interesting to me because I don't have to think in the future, because I know what the future is because it's all right there in front of me. And now it is more of a spatial, tactical puzzler kind of thing where I am trying things, and if that doesn't work, I rearrange and see if that works better, and I rearrange again and see if that works better. And this part of the game feels a lot more satisfying to me because now it's about clever card placement and not about clever strategic planning. And I much prefer the second half of this game. Now, that said, you may end up with a bunch of cards randomly that are going to be very, very difficult to put together to defeat the dragon. You may end up with a bunch of cards randomly that slot together right away and you win. So there is still that randomness element here just based on the cards that you've got for the second half of the game. But I do much prefer the way that this plays simply because I can test and try and test and try, and I don't have to worry about what's coming next because everything I have is right there. So those are my sort of thoughts on the base game. I do enjoy the game. I'm not sure I'd call it fun right off the bat simply because it is very brain-burny and there is a lot of strategic load in the first half of the game, but I do enjoy it quite a bit, and this is a game that I'm always happy to play when I bring it to the table. So let's talk about the expansions. How do the expansions mix things up? This is a very unique situation here. I don't think I've ever seen this done before, that the game itself has these two distinct phases or distinct pieces, right? And each of these expansions now is targeting a different piece of the game. And I think that's really clever, because if the first half of the game is the thing you want to focus on, use the Untold Fortune expansion. If the second half of the game is the thing that you want to focus on, use the Den of Dragons expansion. And they both do very different things and change the game in very different ways. So let's talk about the two of them. The first one, the Untold Fortune expansion. This is the one that focuses on the first half of the game. And this is a very interesting expansion for me because it does a couple of different things. And the first thing it does is, well, it gives you the ability to turn the game into a slightly more tactical thinking kind of game, because some of the cards that you have here are the crow, the shovels, and the pickaxe. And the crow, the shovels, and the pickaxe allow me to sort of manipulate stuff after it's already been put out on the table. Right? The shovel and the pickaxe, sorry, not the pickaxe. The pickaxe is focused on the cavern collapse, and I'll talk about that in just a second. The shovel is going to allow me to dig up cards that I've already placed down as one of the uses of the shovel. And this is interesting to me because if I've started playing out what I think is a strategy, and the cards are coming out wrong because I didn't pay attention to what's already come out, and there's no likelihood of the color or the shape that I'm looking for coming out again, I can use the shovel to dig up some cards that I've already played and then play them again in a different way to successfully get groups, rather than having put them in the wrong places and they're just stuck there and not doing me any good at that time. And that's a really interesting piece to this game. The Raven also, or Crow, I'm sorry, I don't remember which of it is, the black bird, gives me the ability to get treasures by spending gems that I've already unlocked, which again is a really big thing, because I told you in the early piece of these thoughts that I'm giving you, that in the base game there's a lot of randomness about when the treasures come out and which treasures you can get, simply because of how the game is played out at the moment that the treasure comes out or doesn't come out. But now I've got the ability to, using this card, spend gems and sort of buy treasures that I wasn't able to unlock, which is great, because if I have two treasures of a set and the other one's not coming out, or it's impossible for me to activate that card, I can spend a gem and buy a treasure, and now I've got the full set with the bonus ability, and that makes things really, really interesting here as well. Plus, for the pickaxe and the shovel, I can actually spend treasures instead of gems. So now if I have one treasure it's 1 point at the end of the game, but I don't have any hope of getting the other two treasures in that set, I can spend that treasure instead to activate one of these shovels or one of these pickaxes to get cards back into my hand. The other thing this adds is the cavern collapse and the spirit gems, or spirit stones. And these are interesting because the spirit stones is how I'm going to get the gems that lets me use the pickaxe, that let me use the shovel, that let me use the raven. And those are going to be placed overlaid on cards that you've already unlocked a gem, to remove that gem and sort of put it into your stash to be spent on the other cards. The cavern collapse is one that's going to come out and automatically activate when it comes out, and it needs to be placed on a card that basically destroys anything you've done on that card, removing gems if there's gems on that card, removing gems on adjacent cards if the crystals on the card you're covering were the ones that unlocked that gem. And then after you've placed the first cavern collapse down, from then on any other cavern collapse you have needs to sort of fill in adjacent to the ones that are already on the board. And also, if they get placed on top of a spirit stone, you lose. So you need to think about placing the cavern collapses in places where the spirit stones won't be, or avoiding placing spirit stones down next to where the cavern collapses already are. And the problem here is that, for me, all of the tactical stuff that's added from the shovel and the pickaxe and the crow have now been removed by these two things, because now I need even more future-looking strategic planning. Because if I don't lay out cards in such a way that the cavern collapse has a safe place to go, I'm going to start screwing things up. If I don't lay out cards and unlock gems in such a way that the spirit stone can be overlaid without impacting some other gem on another card based on the card I'm overlaying, I can't lay out those spirit stones. And you saw that in my playthrough. I didn't set things up very well. There was a place I wanted to put a Spirit Stone, but it was next to a cavern collapse. Do I want to take that risk? Not really. There were a couple places that had gems that I'd love to have covered with the Spirit Stones, but because of my clever sort of group creation, I couldn't place it there because it was going to break 2 or 3 other groups for gems that were already out on the board. So this is where things get tricky for me again, because now I'm required to build or to think further ahead to set things up for these Spirit Stones so I can get the gems to use to buy the stuff that I need, and to set things up so that I have safe spaces for those cave collapse or cavern collapses to go out to without ruining everything else. So now I'm not only thinking future forward about building groups to get these gems, I now also have to think on top of that, while I'm doing that, how do I set things up in addition to protect myself from the cave collapse and to get places where I can place these Spirit Stones down. Now granted, the pickaxe, which is the one I didn't talk about before, will let me get rid of all the cavern collapses. The shovel, in addition to digging up cards, will also allow me to dig up the cavern collapses. So again, I do have some ability to sort of manipulate things or save myself from some of this stuff. And maybe if I've overlaid things that I can't place a Spirit Stone, I can dig up that card and place it somewhere else and place the Spirit Stone there. There's options. There's definitely still some tactical decisions added by this expansion, but ultimately the additional strategic planning load that's placed on the game from this expansion is one that makes this expansion feel a little bit less fun. Even though I have more ability to manipulate the way the game plays, it still feels a bit less fun to me because it hurts that I have to think even more strategically and just doesn't click with my brain. Now, if you are somebody who likes strategic planning and that idea of planning ahead in the base game is something that you're really connected with, this expansion could work wonders for you because, again, it does allow you to manipulate the puzzle more than you could before, and it gives you another layer of puzzle that plays with your brain and is a very interesting idea. The design here is interesting, just it makes things more painful or more work for me than it does add more fun. So let's talk about the second expansion, Den of Dragons. This is the one that manipulates or changes up the second half of the game, and I've already told you the second half of the game is the part of the game that I prefer. So what does this do? This adds the ability to go up against a dragon depending on the treasures that you've unlocked in the first half. Then you select the dragon you want to fight based on what you've unlocked or what's available to you, and you add a second dragon to the game. And the way that the second dragon works is these sort of overlay tiles that need to get placed over the cards that you're placing out for the black dragon, such that the sort of shiny spots on the overlay tiles get surrounded by groups just like they would in the regular game to unlock the special crystals for that special dragon. And if you do that too, then you can unlock both dragons. Now, the ultimate goal of beating these dragons is to get you more points or get you new titles at the end of the game. Again, I don't know how I feel about scoring or titles in this game. I understand that's how you can sort of judge yourself after you get good at this game to compare how well you've done each time. But ultimately for me, beating the black dragon and now beating one of these dragons, these new dragons, is the sort of goal for me. I don't necessarily care about the score or the titles that I'm getting. So realistically, the difference between the three dragons here, while you do get different scoring or different titles based on which dragons you're fighting, for me the difference in the puzzle is the difference in the shapes of the overlay tiles, and each three of those dragons, as you saw in my components overview, does have a different set of shapes, so it does make the puzzle slightly different. And then you've got the option to play either easy or hard, using either the wild crystal side of the tile or the solid crystal, the specific colored crystal side of the tile. And that does make even more variability in the puzzle here. But let's talk about that puzzle because that's what's added in this expansion. And I really enjoy this expansion. I like what this is adding. This new addition to the puzzle, right? This is another layer of puzzle, another piece that my brain needs to think about. Not just making the groups fit, not just making the groups fit to get one of each color for the black dragon, and ultimately not even just making the groups fit to unlock the crystals on the new dragon, but how do I fit the overlay tiles into the tableau in such a way that I'm not covering things that I am needing, covering things that I don't necessarily need, or even better, covering the blank spaces on the cards when possible. and fitting them in such a way, specifically sometimes using those L shapes or those C shapes to sort of go around things on a card that I already needed for something else, and putting all of these things together in a clever way to ultimately be able to defeat both dragons. And when you do it, it feels really good and really satisfying, and it is a really cool level to the puzzle. Now, if I'm going to talk about any negatives from this second expansion, first, the fact that you can only choose a dragon based on the treasures you got in the first half, and the treasures you get in the first half are kind of random depending on how they come out. So you may or may not have the ability to choose a dragon that you're interested in trying, but ultimately, you only need one treasure of a type to try that dragon, so that's not a huge deal. You can generally get a treasure, if that's what you're looking for, to try and fight a certain dragon. The other small negative here is that if you have any kind of sort of analysis paralysis or problems with lots of decision space, this is going to hurt a little bit. You saw in my video that ultimately I did give up on the Golden Dragon simply because I didn't want you to sit there staring at me thinking and thinking and thinking for hours while I tried to put this puzzle together. Now, if I wasn't on camera and I was playing by myself, I probably would have played a little bit longer to see what I could have done and what I could have manipulated to try and make it all work out. But this is I don't want to say an issue because it's not a bad thing, but this is a real thing that happens with the game, that because all of the cards are face up, because you know what you've got, because you've got those tiles, you might try 5, 6, 7 times to rearrange things and rearrange things and rearrange things, and it might ultimately be that there's no way for you to solve the puzzle. There may not be a solution to the puzzle to be able to defeat both of those dragons. So ultimately, at some point, you sort of have to give up. And it's sort of up to you where that point is and how much you enjoy continuing and continuing and continuing to try the same thing. For me, I'll try 2 or 3 times and then probably just decide it's not possible like I did in the video. But in any case, just the problem-solving step itself, slotting these things, seeing how these things fit together, is a really, really fun core mechanism. I started this sort of thought section off by talking about the core mechanism and how unique and interesting that design is. And ultimately, that's the same thing that I'm talking about right here in this second expansion, is basically it's just highlighting that core mechanism, adding another layer of sort of decision space on top of it. And whether or not I succeed or not in the end, just playing with that mechanism and seeing how things fit together is a whole lot of fun and is very interesting to me. So of the 2 expansions, I probably prefer the Den of Dragons expansion. If you are the more strategic player that is a big fan of planning things out in the future, like a chess-style kind of game, the first expansion might be the one for you. In any case, I enjoy this game quite a bit. I really enjoy the sort of core mechanism. I like what the expansions are adding to both pieces of this game, but ultimately that sort of long-term strategic planning just isn't for me, so this won't ever be one of my favorite games, but I do absolutely enjoy the puzzle, and I do absolutely enjoy the experience every time I get this one to the table. Now, as I said, these 2 expansions are on Kickstarter as I speak. I will put the link down below so you can click and go check out the campaign for yourself to see if this is something you might be interested in backing. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.